Gene kept trying to like downplay it, like that's
What's the
not
big
who we
deal?
are. Like you're very kind, but that's not really
What's
who we
that?
are. That's what Matt gave me for my birthday. I can't remember the name of it. It's very good.
Shit.
Yeah, the bottle has no label on
Can we
it.
keep going with that?
Yeah. Are we recording? Oh,
Yeah, I swear, the only thing I wear now are those performance hoodies.
Like t-shirts never fit me, right? They're either too big or too small. There's nothing worse than a too small t-shirt, and a too big one is just about as bad because like you look like you're heavier than you are. Like I'm at the point in life where it's like I don't need to be wearing logos or bullshit like that. Like I don't care. Like band ones are cool, but I don't need to say like Nike.
Comfort is at a huge premium for me. What's good, everybody? I'm Johnny Danger.
I'm Jesse Wheeler.
And we are the Dangerous Dudes. We have just stumbled across Mirror Magazine's top 10 guitarists of all time list. And it deserved a break in the action. Pause what you're doing. We got to have a discussion about this. What the hell is going on?
So likely clickbait, something to get us fired up, but nonetheless, they put it out there as if this is some legitimate list of top 10, because there's good guitar players on this list. But to call it top 10, first of all, well, let's read the list. This is the Mirror Magazine's list of the 10 best guitar players of all time.
Okay.
We'll start at the bottom.
Okay.
Well, there'll be plenty of discussion even at the bottom, but we're going to just start at 10, Dave Grohl.
Oof. 9,
Keith Richards. 8, David Gilmour. 7, Carlos Santana. 6, Jimmy Page. 5, Slash. 4, Mark Knopfler. 3, Eric Clapton. 2, Jimi Hendrix. 1, Brian May. Okay, so let's get this out of the way from the get-go. Any top 10 guitar list, I don't care what time frame you're talking about, but if it encompasses the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and does not include Eddie Van Halen in the top 2 or 3, immediately is invalidated as
fodder,
as silly, dumb, whatever word you want to use that's PC at this point.
You don't need to look further.
Right? Like, come on. Like, how could you possibly list? Well, first of all, I mean, Jimi Hendrix is the popular number 1 of all time guitar player. I can respect that.
You can at least make a case for it.
Yeah, he was, obviously at the time he came out, he was revolutionary, changed the way the instrument was played, very good technically. But Eddie Van Halen was revolutionary, changed the way instrument was played,
just as innovative,
but levels above technically. Like Eddie Van Halen did things technically that nobody did and nobody does. People try to copy him, but he was as unique as it gets, and to me should be number 1. But I can listen to arguments that he's not 1, maybe 2 or 3, but to not be in the top 10 is just silly.
So I know the way the internet works, and there's a lot of shit out there to kind of, distract you. And in order to get your attention, you got to do stuff like this. And putting Dave Grohl.
I love Dave Grohl. I love him. I love all the Foo Fighters stuff. Obviously loved him as a drummer in Nirvana, and he was starting to write songs at the end of Nirvana. He's written a lot of great songs. Foo Fighters. Check out the Foo Fighters Sonic Highways documentary. It's special. It's really entertaining. But Dave Grohl wouldn't put himself in the top 10 guitar player list. So
this top 10 thing is just, it's gone overboard. Brian May is number 1 on that list. Brian May is a great guitar player.
Very good.
Not going to deny that.
Great songwriter.
But when we get into these lists of top 10, what are we supposed to do? Are we just supposed to just ignore technical ability, proficiency?
Right. To me, to make a top 10 list, you obviously have to be a good songwriter, but you have to be top. We're talking about top 10 of all the guitar players ever. Technical skill matters. And so we talked about Eddie Van Halen being not being on the list. Where's like Steve Vai? Hello, like come on. Like,
I get it. There's all these factors, and there is sort of a value in who came first, right? Like who did it first.
well, eras matters.
Eras matter. But technical ability has to be a part of the equation.
Keith Richards is one of the coolest dudes ever, but nobody is arguing that Keith Richards' technical skill is up there with Hendrix or Eddie Van Halen, or I mean, who deserves Jimmy Page? I think deserves to be on this list.
Yes.
Or like the Steve Vais, Joe Satriani's, the uber talented technical skill players, and then there's the obviously there's the TikTokers of the world now that are computers basically that have solved the instrument.
Who else is on that list? Who's on that list that we could agree should stay?
Hendrix should stay for sure. To me,
Jimmy
I think
Page can stay.
Jimmy Page should stay. I would have him in the top 10. Those are probably the only two. I love Slash. I think he's a very underrated guitar player. He gets a lot of shit for not being as good as he is. I think he's pretty talented, and he was instrumental in writing some of their songs, which are great, but I don't think he belongs on the top 10 list. Probably Hendrix and Jimmy Page are, for me, the two guys I would leave in there.
And then you get into genres, right? Like,
sure,
if you're encompassing the top 10 players of all time, right, that's damn near impossible.
Well, it's difficult.
Because you got to take into account guys like Al Di Meola, John McLaughlin, and then these new guys like
there's people on TikTok I see playing that can reach like
the 12th to the 22nd fret.
Ridiculous these chords that I'm like I don't even understand how your hand can possibly do that.
There needs to be some sort of consensus with these lists when, like, Rolling Stone will have Neil Young in their top 50 guitar players of all time. Like, guys, we got to have some.
And we love Neil.
Yeah, Neil Young. I mean, Needle and the Damage Done, amazing acoustic riff, but what are we talking about? I
also think lists like this are often made by somebody who doesn't play guitar that often. Like somebody, like when you've spent a lot of time playing guitar, performed on stage playing guitar, you respect the people that are technically more proficient than you. And so for me to make a top 10 list, it should encompass number one, technical skill. Number two, the songs that you wrote as a guitar player, are they great? Are they unique? And was there something unique about your style? Something along those lines. That's why Hendrix ends up on a list like this.
That's why Jimmy Page ends up on the list.
Exactly. And that's why
he stays.
And for me, that's why the list starts and ends with Eddie Van Halen, because technically there are very few people as good as him. Oh my God.
You're fucking calling me all the time. Like, it can't be that important.
I am not that important.
There's no way that you need me that bad. I'm just a guy.
Oh my goodness. Anyway,
okay.
Eddie Van Halen, revolutionary. I want to come up with my own. I have a top 3 list of most revolutionary guitar players, and I think I feel like they handed the baton from one to the other. Starts with Hendrix. Revolutionary.
Correct.
Changed the way guitar was played, blew people's mind at the time.
Absolutely.
The person who took the baton from him was Eddie Van Halen.
Correct.
Took it to another level. Technical skill was far beyond Hendrix's, and just really revolutionized the guitar and playing phenomenal songs. His rhythm playing was just special. And the guy that took it from him, that I think took it to the next level from a just using the instrument differently perspective, is Tom Morello. I feel like Tom Morello embodies Eddie Van Halen and Jimi Hendrix. People think of Tom Morello as this guy that makes weird noises with his guitar, does the scratching and strange stuff. But as a player, from time to time, he will shred and shows off he does have, reached like virtuosic levels. So for me, he goes in a top 10 list too. Just a different type of player.
Well, that's definitely that's a valid addition to any top 10 list. I love Tom Morello. I don't know if he'd be in my top 10. But I think there's this taboo sort of thing, again, that participation trophy sort of mindset where guys like Yngwie Malmsteen kind of needs to be on your top 10 list.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, but the guy's, he's super repetitive. He does, like, all these guys are repetitive.
It doesn't matter. Like,
he does. They're like skateboarders that come up with like a really cool kickflip. Like, I'm going to incorporate that kickflip on this next jump. Like, why wouldn't you do that? Like, why wouldn't you, Eddie Van Halen does all this two-hand tapping. Like, yeah, it's really cool. It sounds awesome. You're not going to be able to satisfy everybody. I did a top 10 guitarists of all time on my Johnny Danger Cooks channel. And I got a lot of blowback, as expected. Of
course, you're always. That's the whole point.
Where's Frank Zappa? Where's Terry Kath? Where's all these guys? Like, I mean, they're all great, but like, it's 10.
There's only 10. Yeah.
And I appreciate innovation. I appreciate like cool riffs and things that have stayed. Tony Iommi was on my list.
Yeah.
Amazing guitar player, amazing riffs. Is he a shredder? I don't think he's a shredder.
No, but revolutionary in some ways, like to that genre, especially.
Memorable.
Yeah. I couldn't argue. I wouldn't argue with him being on the list. I mean, I think it's tough to argue, including Steve Vai, because he's a shredder, virtuosic, but also crossed over. Now, is he on top 40 radio? Obviously not, but popular enough that people know who he is. Obviously was in the Crossroads movie, played in Zappa's band, but
played with David Lee Roth.
Oh, absolutely. I forget about that.
Played with Whitesnake.
Yeah. But he has taken the technical part of it to a level that you just cannot ignore. Like, you watch him and it's like, why do I even try playing guitar? like that stuff. Like I literally don't have those notes on my guitar.
So, but
Steve,
when I was a kid and I'd been begging my parents, for a guitar ever since I was 8. When I heard 1984 by Van Halen for the first time, I was obsessed with the guitar. I had to have one. Finally got one when I was 12, and I was going to be Eddie Van Halen. And then, I played with the instrument for a while and getting lessons and, making good progress. And then I heard Passion and Warfare. And I asked my dad to buy me an acoustic guitar so I could start focusing on songwriting. Like, what am I like? What are we doing? I guess I don't need to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, I checked that off my list.
Yeah, those bases have been covered. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
You saved me a lot of time and energy.
So one of the segments of time that gets slept on, and I'm not I'm going to preface this by saying I was not a huge hair metal era fan. I know you were, but one of the things that gets overlooked about that era is the level of guitar playing that was happening at that point. CeCe DeVille from Poison. Poison is the hair metal of all hair metal bands. But CeCe DeVille is a prolific guitar player.
Some of the tasty licks, like just really memorable. Listen to the song Heaven by Warrant. I don't know the name of the guitar player. The guitar solo is so effing great. Yeah, it's awesome. But they're actually really great players. And these top 10 lists are so hard to kind of corral the different genres and different eras. A guy like Stevie Ray Vaughan, in my opinion, he's the best blues guitar player of all time. If you're just talking about blues, and then there's other guys that kind of.
Any top 10 list would have to include Stevie Ray, right?
You would think, but when you actually if you're taking into totality all of the guitar players from all of the genres, that's why I think it's easier just to break it down like top 10 rock, top 10 jazz, top 10 neoclassical, top 10 progressive, and then everybody can be pissed off about those lists. But you're really going to piss us off when you're going to come out with this definitive top 10 list from Mirror Magazine, whoever the hell Mirror Magazine is.
I know.
To say that Brian May is the number one guitar player of all time, and then fill in the blanks. And at 10, we got Dave Grohl. But
I think Dave Grohl makes the top 10 list of guitar players who were drummers in Nirvana.
That's a good
definitely
jumping.
He might be
point.
Number one.
He's the best guitar player that used to be the drummer for Nirvana of all
I
time.
hope he doesn't, like, if we ever run into Dave Grohl in public, which will never happen, but let's just say we do. If he ever saw this, I hope it's not. We love you, Dave.
Yeah, I hope it's not contentious. But anyway, that's our gripe session. I guess we just call this sort of like a not top 10.
Why Mirror Magazine is dumb at making top 10 guitar lists. That's the title of this segment.
So, till next time.
See you later.
Cheers.